Yeah, my talk before our coffee break is basically around adaptability, and I'm going to give then a little bit of an update on FuturePrint and the kind of work we're doing and how things have changed. Actually, FuturePrint has been a story of adaptability, so that's the link. There I am, adaptability. What is adaptability? Well, in essence, it's the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions. Some of us find that more difficult than others, but all of us can learn to be more adaptable. And I think we look back now, don't we, to the period of lockdown as actually a period of great certainty. Initially, it was very shocking, but after a while, we all were presented with the same challenge at the same time, virtually. I mean, apart from a global war, none of us really have ever experienced that before. So I think since we come out of lockdown, it appears that life is even more uncertain. And I think that throws a huge amount of anxiety to business owners because we don't know what's going to happen next. How do we navigate this? And my view is that actually by becoming more adaptable, by being open to new ideas, trying things out, open to failure without making mistakes that kind of jeopardize the business too much, we can actually navigate through this time and generate opportunity from it. What it requires, though, is somehow it's difficult, isn't it, when we want to move beyond our comfort zone and almost relieve ourselves of the stuff we've learned up to now. And this is more difficult the older we get. I think most of us, as we get older, sort of crave comfort a bit more. When we're younger, everything's new, we're just excited by it. To a large extent, though, what we need to just do is actually start unlearning and move beyond the fear zone into that new learning zone to become more adaptable, more flexible, and more able to exploit these opportunities, because there are opportunities, but they're rapidly presenting themselves. COVID accelerated social change massively. Since then, it hasn't gone back to the pre-COVID time. In fact, it's got even quicker. But there are opportunities if we're prepared to grasp them. These two gentlemen are eminent, actually Cambridge scientists, I believe. I have this theory that scientists, of which there's a number of you in the room, and I'm not pointing at you directly, suffer from a thing called confirmation bias. And I call it the tyranny of expertise. We go through education, we go through our careers, up and up and up the ladder, and we become, I guess, the holy grail as the expert. And the problem with expertise is we become less flexible. What happens is we like this social standing we've achieved, and we therefore, maybe subconsciously or unconsciously, look to protect that. And that means we become rigid and unable to see opportunity. This scientist on the left thought electric light, as a physicist, they're meant to be the brainiest, he thought electricity and electric light was just a temporary fad. Lord Kelvin on the right, another mathematician and physicist, thought it was absolutely impossible for flying machines to ever exist because they were weighed down, because it challenged their paradigm, their way of thinking. And that's what we've got to do, is to actually just take a step back and kind of go, actually, I've known all this stuff, I've learned all this stuff, that's great, that's not irrelevant. But actually, in order to be this adaptable and maximize these opportunities, I've got to park that. And also, it's a lot about ego. And I'm afraid to say, I think scientists suffer from that as well. Too much ego, and it means they don't necessarily think differently, and they're following the same path. So as Schumpeter said, a key ingredient of adaptability is innovation. Now, he defined it as simply as this: creativity multiplied by risk. So this is a strategic commitment we need to make to enable our people to be creative, to see opportunities, to be open to them. But we don't get innovation if we don't risk stuff. Yeah? Otherwise, it's just having a nice idea and enjoying a nice time at work. Nothing really comes of it because we're not prepared to take a risk. Because like I said in the previous slide, we don't want to look like a failure and we don't want to make a mistake. A part of the deal with adaptability is failure, is making mistakes, and is taking a risk. But I'm not saying stupid risk, right? Imagine you are a farmer and you have 3 fields. What I'm saying is don't risk all 3, but risk one. Play with that one, become playful, rediscover how we were when we were younger, when we were more open-minded, more able to exploit new opportunities and be excited about the journey. I think it was Edison that said that he didn't fail 10,000 times when he was inventing the light bulb. Leadership. This requires a thing called, I call adaptive leadership, and actually I think a chap called Heifetz in the 60s defined this. And the reason I've got Captain Kirk and Spock up here is there are fundamentally two types of leadership. Spock's a technical leader, so he's more of your scientist type, who's got to a certain status in his business, or on the Starship Enterprise, because he's brilliant logic. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, business needs that. We need to follow paths. It's stupid if we don't. But the problem is, there's no roadmap for the world we live in now. So being just a technical leader isn't good enough. Kirk, on the other hand, is an adaptive leader. Adaptive leadership is about painting a vision, going off on a journey, not actually knowing how you're going to reach the goal that you've set, but being prepared to move, make mistakes, learn, adapt towards that goal. You don't really get Spock's discovering new worlds, but together you get a fantastic balance and a much more adaptive business. What are the traits of the adaptable? Well, purpose is important. I think a thing that we need is a big deal at the moment, skill shortages, being able to entice people with a compelling purpose, particularly the younger generation, vision and targets, and being prepared to reach those and do things differently. I think it also requires independence and inquisitiveness. Now, this is another thing we tend to do as humans. When we recruit teams and recruit people, we actually, even if we do it subconsciously or even unconsciously, they tend to be the same kind of people as us. Possibly the same school, possibly the same university, maybe the same attitudes. And that's understandable because that's held us in good stead with tribes and so on, and self-protection and all of that. But actually what it does is you get this kind of thing called groupthink, which is a guarantee to mediocrity. Another thing we do is if we're feeling we're going to be creative, we tend to think, oh, let's have a brainstorming session, yeah? And I think brainstorming is the worst thing, because what happens is you get a group of people, and the people with the biggest gobs win, and the quieter people, maybe the misfits, maybe the introverts, don't get a look in, but actually it's probably them that have got the original ideas. So what I would urge anyone is, don't brainstorm, but try brainwriting with your team, get them to email ideas, then discuss them. It eradicates the noise from the louder people, and you get better outcomes as a result. Obviously, we need a culture as well that tolerates mistakes. If anybody feels that they're going to lose something, then they're going to avoid coming up with ideas. Resilience and grit is another important factor. Don't give up at the first attempt. Keep trying, keep going. I've failed many times, but you just keep going. A key thing, I think, as well, is prioritizing exploration over exploitation. A common thing that comfort zone thing, is we get a model that works. The print industry is a good example of maybe the traditional print industry, where we just exploited the same model over and over and over and over again. Then the world changes, we don't, and then you go out of business and blame the industry. The failure of a system is a failure to adapt, and it's the business owner's responsibility, or the leader, to really kind of work around that and really get a diverse team of different thinkers in your if you build an adaptable team or whatever. So 5 ways to boost your adaptability skills: change your thinking, park your ego, admit that you don't know the answers and get people involved, create a team and a purpose, force yourself to take risks and risk getting it wrong. Empower your team, don't persecute them if they make mistakes. Like I said, divergence, misfits, people that are just a little bit different to you and think differently, really important. And embrace that learning thing, and that's sort of unlearning the stuff that we've learned and then relearning. So that's my bit on adaptability. Linking to FuturePrint, it has been a story of adaptability, continual evolution. We've just come, I think, from lockdown. We had 5 or 6 big virtual events, and now we don't do any virtual events. So now we're kind of adapting our model again to suit the world we live in now, hence why we're running this event here. Digital print for manufacturing. I think we'll definitely continue to run that event next year. We repurposed the house. We want to continue to tell the story. We think this is the most exciting world of print technology in the future, continues to be so. We've, like I said, run 5 virtual events, grown our community significantly, and the summit in June was a great example. It was around leadership, so it wasn't necessarily a technical one, but it really worked in sort of addressing some of the big issues of our time. Amazingly, quite a lot has changed since then. We get 3,000 people read our articles every month. We've now got our TV channel with nearly 30,000 views, LinkedIn community 25,000, our podcasts are near 6,000. So what we're doing is lots of different digital layers combined with in-person, because actually that's how things have changed. The balance between digital and in-person is kind of more 50-50 now. People have changed how they're buying, they're working much more online to do their research, and they're working in teams to make decisions. So we need different layers and platforms in order to meet that change. We upgraded FuturePrint.tech. It immediately saw big increases in numbers, and it's global. You know, the top 10 is obviously European and the US and Switzerland and Spain and so on. But yeah, we reach Asia as well, and so on. So our newsletter gets over 30% opens, which is much higher than industry norm. So we've got lots of different channels. We've got an email newsletter, a TV, podcast, and we're looking at lots of different ways really to continue to grow and reach new people. We're filming this event that gets put on to FuturePrint TV, so people are really sort of downloading and getting value from all of our things. Next year we're evolving again, 2023. The key dates, we will be in Munich in March for imprint, and we'll be running some workshops there, which is a fantastic opportunity to connect. We will also have a networking drinks event there. In June, we'll be back in Geneva, but as Sean was talking about sustainability, the focus for this will be sustainability, and we are calling it EcoPrint. You may have remembered we ran an event 10 years ago called EcoPrint in Berlin, and we think time is right to relaunch that. Not long after in New York, there's a large show called the International Manufacturing Expo, which has 6 sub-brands, covers 3D printing, advanced manufacturing, plastics and packaging and so on. We're also running a showcase there in New York, which is really exciting. It's the East Coast's largest manufacturing event. Then in September, we are running a meetup. It's going to be a bit more than the one we ran in London, but we want to focus on Valencia. We think it's an exciting place for inkjet innovation, and we want to bring our partners together in Valencia, maybe have a look at a couple of factories, run some workshops there, bring people together. And next year, we're going to be back here, hopefully even bigger than we are this year, at FuturePrint.tech. So yeah. Just a little about EcoPrint. I think 10 years ago we ran it and we were ahead of our time. And all of our research is pointing to this being front and center as an issue, sustainability, yet there's no forum for it specifically for print. So EcoPrint will be that. EcoPrint Summit, 6th, 7th of June, join us, and that the straplines Be the Change. We think actually the time has come for print to really focus properly on sustainability. As I said, the Valencia meetup, we're still going to form the program for that, but I think that's again another touch point and another really innovative area in Europe for inkjet and digital printing. And then, like I said, next year, 8th and 9th of November, here again in Cambridge at the Muller Institute. So thank you for listening. I hope that had some value for you. If you want to talk to any of the team about joining us as a FuturePrint partner or getting involved in any of our events, as Fraser, myself and the team are here, we'd be really happy to continue to grow our community and work with you all. So thank you very much, and now it's coffee.